George's Story Time. Hello everyone, I'm George Buxton. Guess what? It's time for a story. Now today I'm going to read you the story of Boogie Bear by David Williams and illustrated by the artistic genius Tony Ross, the one who created the Little Princess stories. Now, when you hear this sound, that means that there will be all brown bears who are trying just to kill a white bear. So, are you ready? Here we go. David Williams presents Boogie Bear. Up at the North Pole, polar bears were swimming, fishing, and growling. The biggest, furriest one of all was sunning herself on an iceberg as usual, lying there without a care in the world. She scooped fish from the sea with her paw and dropped them into her mouth. This is the life, she sighed as she drifted off to sleep. When the polar bear finally woke up, the most awful thing had happened. The animal must have eaten too much for lunch again, because the part of the iceberg she was lying on had snapped off and floated away. The polar bear was now miles from home and being hurled around by the angry sea. Oh dear, she said as she wobbled, surfing a humongous wave. Surely things couldn't get any worse. They could. Much worse. As the polar bear was swept south, the sea became warmer and warmer, melting the iceberg, which became smaller and smaller. Free geography lesson. Soon it was no bigger than an ice cube. Oh dear, said the polar bear as she toppled over into the sea. Splosh! Bobbing her head up out of the water, the polar bear spied that the nearest land was miles away. Oh dear. She did her best bear paddle towards it before collapsing on the rocks, waves crashing around her. Bear paddle is like doggy paddle, but more beary. Behind her, she heard a rustling in the forest. Rustle. Oh, the only thing more rustling would be someone called Rustle, Rustling. Looking up, the polar bear saw hundreds of eyes staring back at her out of the gloom. Oh dear, oh there is there, she whispered to herself. Surely things couldn't get any worse. They could. Much worse. George! Came a voice. Before the polar bear knew it, 100 brown furry creatures were stampeding towards her. Arrgh! They cried, like soldiers running into battle. Get the boogie monster! Bellowed the littlest one from the back. What's a boogie monster? That is, shouted the big one with the floppy ears. I'm scared, said the one with the biggest, wettest nose. The brown bears had never seen a white bear before. Oh dear, very dear, said the polar bear, and she ran away into the forest as fast as she could. It wasn't actually that fast, but at least she tried. Brown bears came from all sides, and soon the white bear had nowhere to run. Ahead of her was the tallest tree in the forest, so she clambered all the way up to the top. It is impossible to clamber all the way up to the bottom. The tree swayed under her weight. The white bear clung on desperately as the brown bear's cry circled. Oh dear, very extremely dear, she said to herself. Get the boogie monster! Shouted the small one, baring his sharp teeth. Can someone else do it? It's scary, whined the one with the biggest, wettest nose. I am not scary, shouted the polar bear. Yes, you are, said the little one. Your fur is a funny colour. Well, I think your fur is a funny colour. That enraged him. Get up there, he ordered. But I'm scared of heights, replied the one with the biggest, wettest nose. The smallest one huffed and picked up a stick as big as he was. He hurled it at the polar bear. Take that, boogie monster! Oi! Ouch! Called out the polar bear. She'd lost her grip and slid down the tree at speed. Oh dear, she muttered to herself as her big furry bottom hit each branch on the way down, until she hit a big bendy branch which bounced her right back up to the top of a tree. Surely things couldn't get any worse. They could. Much worse. As the polar bear was so heavy, the tree buckled to one side. The pack of brown bears reached up with her paws and grabbed at the trunk. "Get the boogie monster!" ordered the little one. The brown bears lost their grip on the trunk and the tree twanged back up. Twang. A twang is like a twang, but more twangy. Screamed the polar bear as she soared through the air. "It's a flying boogie monster," remarked the one with the biggest, wettest nose. Now, polar bears are not natural flyers. None have wings or own jetpacks or can pilot helicopters. If you think you have seen a polar bear flying a helicopter, please consult a doctor. In no time, the poor animal had crash-landed headfirst into a huge muddy puddle. Splat! "Let's get the boogie monster!" shouted the littlest one. "Oh dear, said the polar bear as she stood up. Caked in mud, the polar bear wasn't white anymore. "Stop! It's not a boogie monster, it's a bear!" exclaimed the one with the biggest, wettest nose. "A boogie bear!" shouted the littlest one. A huge smile spread across the face of one with her floppy ears. She's not a boogie anything. She's gorgeous." "Boring!" fumed the littlest one. "Miss, we are so sorry for frightening you," said the one with the floppy ears, stepping forward. "In truth, we were frightened. Here you say, all us bears are brown." "They're all of us. Bears are white," she said, pointing north. "I love your white fur," said the brown bear, checking out the white bear's big furry bottom. "I love your brown fur," said the white bear, checking out the brown bear's big furry bottom. "Yuckety yuck, yuck, yuck!" exclaimed the littlest one. The pair rubbed noses in a show of love. The birds in the trees tweeted sweet music. Butterflies swooped and twirled, and, as if that wasn't enough, a rainbow appeared in the sky. From that day on, the two love-struck bears spent all their days and nights together. The white bear had never eaten honey before, which she loved. The brown bear had never eaten walrus before, which he pretended to love. Now, kids, I would not recommend eating walrus. You have to smother it with tomato ketchup to make it taste nice. The pair hibernated for the winter, cuddled up together in a hollowed-out tree. Things couldn't get any better. But they could. Much better. That spring, the polar bear had a litter of beautiful bear cubs. Their fur came in lots of different shades of white and brown. No matter, their mummy and daddy loved them all the same. "Oh, this really is alive," sighed the white bear. "It certainly is, my love," replied the brown bear. And we hope you enjoyed the story of Boogie Bear. And it was being created by David Williams and illustrated by Tony Ross, who created the Little Princess stories. Alright now, right, and I'm going to say goodbye now, viewers, and I shall leave you with a little one saying the end after the music. Well, and I shall say goodbye now. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.